So trigonometric ratio is the ratio of the lengths of two sides of a triangle. So the word trigonometry is derived from the ancient Greek language. Does anybody know what it means? Three is tri. What about metry? Measurement. So it's the measurement of triangles. So the measurement of triangles. So it says, let triangle ABC be a right triangle. The sine, cosine, and tangent of the acute angle A are as follows. So do you guys remember in geometry when you guys had triangle ABC? Across from angle A, so across the triangle, that's called little a. That's the segment length, little a. All right, across from angle C, you put little c. And across from angle B, you put lowercase b. Okay. Sine is equal to the opposite over hypotenuse. So in our case, if I'm looking at angle A, opposite is little a. Hypotenuse is always the segment that's across from your right angle. So C is your hypotenuse. So sine is A divided by C. I'm writing, it's not writing, but so A over C. Okay, cosine is always adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse. I don't know. I think it's reached its limit on how much it can handle. Okay, here we go. This is hypotenuse. So that's a C. Okay, so adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, when I was in school, I always got confused because I was like, there's two things that are adjacent to angle A. Do you guys see length C and length B are both next to angle A? Yeah, but length C is already, it's called the hypotenuse. It's always the hypotenuse. So adjacent is the one that's left, B. So it's B over hypotenuse, which is C. And then tangent is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite, oh, over adjacent, yeah, thank you. Adjacent. So opposite is A, adjacent is B. Okay, so that's just for angle A. If I talked about angle B, adjacent would be A, right? Okay, so to remember this, we remember what we call Sohcahtoa. Have you heard this before? Okay. So I would say back when I was in school, I took geometry, and when I was taught this, I had a student teacher. So the student teacher came in, and she told us this really, really long story. And I would say if you look in the dictionary next to the word gullible, it's a picture of me. Like, I will believe anything anybody ever tells me. I'm just very trusting. And so my husband likes to, like, make jokes all the time. I'm like, really? He's like, no. So she made this big, long story about this Native American princess who helped the mathematicians and blah, blah, blah. I would say she helped them through the wilderness of confusion. So I believed every word of her, what she's saying. I don't know. So it's like Sacagawea, but only for mathematicians, apparently. So Sohcahtoa, it's a way you remember sine, cosine, and tangent. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay. So sine, so cosine, toa, tangent. Okay, so let's just make sure our calculators are working properly. We have them in the right mode and all that. So get your calculators out. Yeah. So those of you that have graphing calculators, you're going to need to hit mode. Did you see it up next to second? And instead of having radians, we want degrees. So under, do you guys see where it says radians and degrees? You're going to highlight degree and hit enter. And then do second quit. So get out of there. All right, now do sine of 56. We want degrees. Do you guys see why we want degrees? Because we have a degree mark right there. Radians are usually used in pre-calc and calculus. All right, cosine of 84, do that one. What do you get?
0.145.
Yep, 0.1045. We're doing to 4 decimal places. Tangent of 16.
0.286.
You guys are good. All right, our calculators are in the right mode. We're good. All right, moving on. All right, the angle of elevation from the base to the top of a playground slide is 55 degrees. So this is our ladder. Here's our slide. We have our little person on the slide.
That's me.
Whee! All right. So it says the angle from the ground to the top of the slide is 55 degrees. Okay, the slide takes up 10 feet of space horizontally along the ground. So this is 10 feet. Estimate the height and the length of the slide. So I'll call H the height, L the length. Okay, so we need to come up with some kind of equation that's going to find H for us. So look at the angle we have. The angle we have is right here. So we have opposite and we have adjacent. So if we look at the word Sohcahtoa, which one has O and A? Toa. Tangent. All right, so we want the tangent of 55 degrees to equal the opposite, H, over the adjacent, 10. So I'm going to find tangent of 55 on my calculator. I'm going to do 4 places. So 1.4281 equals H over 10. Now usually you can just keep that number in your calculator, right? So we're just going to multiply by 10. So multiply the 10 over. So when I do that, I get 14.281. Okay, this means that the height is approximately 14.3 feet. Okay, now let's say I want to find the length. Now you can do the length a couple different ways. What could I do to find the length now? Yeah, you guys have both the sides of the triangle. You could find the hypotenuse, right? You find both legs, you can find the hypotenuse. All right, but usually I don't want to use an answer that I've already found, just in case I got it wrong. So I'm going to try to not use anything that I've derived, anything that I've found already. So is there any way I can use the 10 and L and 55 and come up with an equation that involves these 3 things? Yeah. Cosine? Yeah, that's adjacent, and this one's hypotenuse, right? So you're going to say cosine of 55 degrees equals adjacent, which is 10, over hypotenuse, which is L. Okay, so do cosine of 55 degrees. So you get your answer. So 0.5735, or 36, right, if I round, equals 10 over L. Okay, so back in the days when I taught geometry, we'll finish this up real quick, people always just divided by 10 and thought that was their answer. So they would get 0.05736 as their answer for L. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Please don't do that. Okay, so what we need to do, is that what you did?
Yeah.
Multiply your L over. So I get 0.5736, L equals 10. So I'm multiplying this L over here. And now you're dividing by the 0.5736, right? So you get L equals 10 over 0.5736. So I'm going to do 10 divided by my answer on my calculator. So 17.434. So the length is about 17.4 feet. Okay, make sense? All right, we'll do more of these tomorrow.